Let's fast forward a little bit to about 2004, 2005-ish. Again, not entirely sure when this happened, but time flows differently when you're younger. Am I right? One minute you're at recess playing Pokemans, and the next you're paying taxes. Anyway, I'm out with my parents on a weekday night at this neat little pub slash restaurant slash bar that's still open, I think. When all of a sudden they run into some old friends that they haven't seen in a while, and as parents do, they proceeded to talk for the next 2 hours. I say hello like a good boy, and then I sneak off to the back to play some of the arcade games that they have at this place, because I forgot to bring my aforementioned Pokemans that I played a lot at that time. As I'm playing Kiss Pinball or Gauntlet or Rampage, I'm greeted by a classmate that I know, but not that well. He's getting off from his shift of washing dishes, so we decide to shoot the shit for a few hours. Let's just call this friend Big E, because that's what everyone else in school called him. Well, in high school they called him Big E. Me and Big E sat down for the next few hours and proceeded to shoot the shit. The shit in question being some movies, but mostly video games. Little did I know this is where everything would change. Forever. Big E asks, "Hey man, you ever played a game called Resident Evil?" To which I say, "Nah, but isn't it the game with that weird vampire dude peeking around the corner?" To which he says, "Yeah, but that's RE2. I'm talking about Code Veronica." No lie, I still get goosebumps and little fuzzy feelings thinking about that conversation that night. Just for some quick context, my parents went by the ESRB rating system, so I never saw a game past teen. Code Veronica was the first M-rated game I ever owned. Correction! When I say they went by the ESRB system, I actually mean no Grand Theft Auto. Out of my personal trifecta of games that I've spoken about over this opening quadrilogy, Spyro, Warcraft 3, and Code Veronica, Code Veronica was easily the most significant step. Why do I say that? Because, well, Spyro's easy to get into and colorful and hilarious. While discovering Warcraft 3 was also a coincidence or an act of sheer dumb luck, I believe that I eventually would have found the RTS genre regardless. But survival horror? No. If I hadn't become friends with Big E because of that night, and we hadn't spent countless nights after that getting the ever-loving shit scared out of us by Resident Evil and various other survival horror games, I don't know that I ever would have tried them myself. Sure, a lot of the friends that I mentioned in a previous video, the Warcraft 3 video, that I met through D&D also played Resident Evil and these same various survival horror games. But at that point in my life, I don't think I would have tried them. Take out your fucking trash so I can keep recording. How long does it take to take one trash can to the fucking curb? You done? Alright. Now, one more distraction before we get into this. I love survival horror games. A lot. But I'm ashamed to admit that there are several I haven't played myself. I've seen them played. I know all about them. But I haven't played them myself. Luckily, as you can see, I do own them. But don't worry, I will be getting to those. All of them. And you know what? Those will be reviews. But this is not a review. I'm just a guy with fond memories. This thing starts off by a 19-year-old college student named Claire Redfield breaking into a corporate building owned by the infamous Umbrella Corporation, looking for her lost brother, Chris Redfield. She gets chased down a hallway by a fucking attack helicopter before sliding into a room filled with armed guards. She feigns putting her hands up, only to drop the gun, do some sick-ass fucking Matrix fall, catch it, then shoot the explodey barrels in the back of the room. To this day, Claire Redfield is still my favorite Resident Evil character. Hell, she's probably one of my favorite video game characters, period. In my opinion, Claire is the most realistic character in the entire Resident Evil series. She has just the right amount of spunk and sass at the appropriate moments, but she's genuinely a protective and caring person. And on top of all of that, although she's not the only character to do this, she picked a very realistic career path for her character at the end of the events of Resident Evil 2 and Code Veronica. But enough of me fangirling. It's time to go to prison. Claire gets captured, and then she gets knocked the fuck out and wakes up just in time for the island to get bombed. It's dark as shit. But luckily, the same guy that caught you, Rodriguez, gets hurt and has a change of heart. Remember that. He lets her out. There's no hard feelings. She grabs a knife and gets the fuck out of there. I wouldn't known that they locked Claire in a solitary cell underneath a graveyard. You bet your ass they saw what she did in that fucking building. Once you make it out to the graveyard, a truck explodes and a bunch of zombies wake up. And this is where I shut the game off for a few days. What a bitch! Yeah, scared the poopy right out of me. But later that week, I gathered the courage and started again. In the middle of the day, when the sun was out and I knew they couldn't get me. Back then, I stayed and killed every single one of them with a knife, not knowing that they come back in this area constantly. It is a graveyard. I should have known better. Once you're out, you turn the corner and immediately get shot at. But, luckily, there's a brand new, fresh out of the box, M93R, fully loaded and ready to go. Claire reminds me yet again why she's one of my favorite video game characters, because she doesn't even hesitate. The second that man stops firing at her, she immediately turns and open fires on him in return. She spins around and shoots out the light and nearly kills our adorable co-star and love interest, I guess, Steve Burnside. He's all over her in this situation for some reason, and Claire ain't having none of it. Then he just runs off, after being a little cringy and adorable. You start to look around for a way out of this situation, only to find more jump scares. Eventually stumbling across a spooky, scary journal, only adding more to this horrifying situation. Oh look, bullets on a shelf with a banging zombie near it. I'm sure this will be fine. You meet up with Steve again, and honestly, this is the first time I, got my first real taste of classic Resident Evil voice acting at its finest. He gets mad and runs off again. Claire's like, alright, what the fuck? You find a file that tells you about this neat metal, non-metal, that you need to copy this emblem to put in the gate to get the fuck out of here and never return. Until later. Pro tip, set off the metal detector. That way, when you finish making the copy, the zombies won't break in. After leaving the prison, you climb up the side of a cliff fire escape to the palace? Upon entering, you need to head upstairs to move a dresser to get a card to get a code to unlock a lot of the doors. Or you could just be like me and play the game so many fucking times that you have the code memorized. NTC0394. It unlocks some doors, you do some exploring, you watch this video with some creepy ass twins, a bookshelf moves, you pick up the steering wheel, don't pick up the Lugers. When you try to leave, you hear this.
Yeah! Help me! Steve?
And realize that Steve is the stealthiest man alive. Seriously. How the fuck did he get back there? Anyway, you save him after completing a very simple puzzle. He flirts some more. You realize he has those Lugers that you need to unlock a door upstairs. And he'll trade you if you find him something automatic. And then he runs off again. On the way out, you get shot by one of those creepy twins you just saw. All grown up. Really? You got nothing to say?
What?
We got a crazy, insane bad guy, and you got nothing to say about that.
Nope. We have two way cooler villains in this game. Fuck Alfred.
True. After he leaves, you're free to continue. Emphasis on free. Kinda. You see, the destination of this game is always the same, but how you get there is mostly up to you. You want to go underwater in the submarine first and get more inventory space? You can. You want to go get the crossbow?
Bowgun. Idiot.
You want to go get the bow gun to have another weapon? You can. You want to leave that empty fire extinguisher in that security box because you thought you were done with it? You can do that too. Sure, don't get the Magnum. It's overrated in this game anyways. Needless to say, there's no correct way to do these options, but there are different orders you can do to make things easier.
Wow. It's almost like they intended you to replay this game.
Neat, huh? I honestly don't remember what I did the first time I played this game, but I just went with the crossbow this time.
Bow gun idiot.
Don't you fucking start. Sorry. So I went to get the bow gun first. Unfortunately, when you get this weapon, you get to see a scientist get destroyed, and Claire, Indiana Jones, her way out of danger, as the entire section gets locked down. You have to release the biohazard lock in order to get that shutter to open up, and the other side of the hall is just locked with it and requires the same key card. Other than that, you explore the other rooms and you kill some zombies and you go to a locker room and a sauna for some reason, and it's off to the other side. You use that steering wheel that you got to summon a submarine, and in the submarine you get more inventory space. And once you make your way through this airport, you get the biohazard card. And it was at this time that I realized that it would have been easier to go this way first. On your way back to use the biohazard card, you encounter the gulp worm. Don't worry, I'm just as confused as you are. Then you open the shutter on the far side of the room, only to have it close behind you immediately. Now, I'm going to be honest, when I recorded this gameplay footage, I forgot that it did that. And I pooped myself. It scared me back then, and it scared me now. Which just goes to show how big of a bitch I am. But I love getting scared. When you enter a small courtyard, Alfred tries to kill you again. But Claire does some neat action star stuff again and skadoodles up the stairs after him. Once inside, that crazy son of a bitch locks you in this little room and then laughs maniacally at you, and clearly there's a boss fight or something coming. But before that, let's go into this save room and save the game. And get that nice man's medicine. Once you save the game, you go through the slow heartbeat door. Probably scared, like I was. But once you do, you see some submachine guns and think, wait a minute. Steven wanted some of those machine guns for his golden Lugers. Problem solved! And then all of a sudden, boom! Bandersnatch! These things are horrifying. But if you played this game, you already fucking know that. After you kill the tyrant reject, you head down the stairs to get those nice guns for Steve, and then BAM!
Another Bandersnatch, but this time, Claire's caught in its clutches.
Luckily, her knight in shiny armor shows up just in time to spend all the ammunition out of the golden Lugers. For all we know, those could have been the strongest guns in the fucking game. But Steve quickly earns himself some brownie points over the girl he's been fawning over for the past... in-game, it's probably only been like an hour or two. Only to call her fat. Yep, Claire gets sassy about it too. And then the two of them descend into death. The next section, you get to play a little bit as Steve. Now, you can either run through everything or you can murder everything. But of course, I murder everything. Claire meets back up with Steve once he gives the all clear. And then he gives this really weird, cringy speech about how guns are more reliable than people. He throws a hissy fit and runs out the room. And you follow him. After that, you kill his already dead dad in order to save Claire, and then... honestly, that part's kind of sad. Makes you feel a little bad for Steve. Man, I can't wait for these two to get out of here and get back to safety. Together. I said the first time I played this game. Time for a little backtracking to find a blue plate. You use the blue plate to get a blue key card, and then it's a little more backtracking to get a grenade launcher. You're able to turn off the whatever the fuck alarm that was and make it safe for you to open that door again. The same room where that poor man got killed by the Bandersnatch. I'm sure this will be fine. Now, it was about at this time that I was beginning to acclimate to the fact that I was playing a spooky, scary horror game. Little did I know, that was all about to go out the window. You get back to that room, get the painting, and then get swarmed by a bunch of little white Pokemon things. Apparently, if you cause a biohazard twice in the same room, the door shuts forever. You put the painting where it needs to go, and then bing, bang, boom, a secret wall slides down, revealing a neat little diorama of the entire island. And a golden key. On the way back to the palace, I shit my pants once again as two Bandersnatch pull themselves up from the depths of the abyss because they smelt fresh bander to snatch. Somehow, a bunch of zombies found their way into the palace, and at that point I was out of fucks to give, so I killed all of them. The gold key unlocks one door, and inside you'll find a satisfying yet complicated painting puzzle that involves earthware. And eventually you get a vase with a red ant inside. At this point, I was completely sold on the game. The atmosphere was creepy, the music was pretty good, the characters were neat, Claire was neat. I had no idea that this game was just about to take the dial that was firmly set at about a 7 or 8 and crank it all the way up to 11 and then snap itself off, cementing itself in my brain to this day. The time has come to finally use those fancy golden Lugers to unlock that even fancier golden-plated door, which leads to a fancy office. Okay, I thought back then. No music, a little bit of thunder and lightning, neat little puzzle, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I go around the desk, notice the little box on the wall. Okay, no problem. I'm gonna solve this puzzle. The box is gonna move, and a zombie or something's gonna come stumbling out. Maybe even a couple zombies. It's all good. I got this. There's one particular jump scare, I feel, that completely breaks you and makes it so that you can endure the rest of the game. For me, it was this jump scare. At this point, my stomach had finally adjusted to the anxiety brought on by what lurked around every corner. And I was good to go for the rest of the game. So, with a fresh pair of pants and a freshly dead Bandersnatch, I head down the creepy-ass, foggy bridge into the castle with the cackling woman. 2 more Vanderbillies are waiting for you at the front of this castle, but luckily at this point, I didn't give a shit anymore and I just ran past them. You open another slow heartbeat door, and this plays. At this point, I paused the game and plugged my headphones into the TV. This TV. Right here. This game has fantastic music. In fact, every Resident Evil game has fantastic music. You head upstairs to eavesdrop on Alfred and Alexia. Alfred and Alexia. You use the music box to get a silver key, and then you head back to the palace to use said silver key. One of the doors you unlock leads to a casino that has some bowgun powder in it and a piano with a missing whatever those things are called. The other door leads to a room with 2 Bandersnooches in it, another blue plate, and a neat file about some dude named Hunk moving something called a tyrant. I'm sure neither of those things will ever come up again. First time I played this is genuinely the first time I was stumped. I had no fucking clue where this second blue plate went. I wandered around the palace and all the other places I had just been except for one. The one place I needed to go. Back to the prison! Once there, you use the blue plate to get a pretty neat jump scare. Don't forget to stop by your security box and pick up all your shit. And the extra shit that's out there, because you can grab that now because you moved the box and now you can get past that locked door. And once you remember to do all of that, you head to an infirmary where you go into another room at the end of the infirmary, and this body bag does this creepy ass movie thing as the camera moves into position, and it's rather unsettling. Once you go into the other room and get the security case you find inside and leave, something's crawled out of that bag, and it's making all kinds of horrifying noises. It's a doctor zombie, and he's kind of a mini boss, I think. I don't know. He takes 3 fucking grenades to kill. So yeah, I'd say so. Once you kill the doctor, his eyeball falls out. Then you use that eye to stick in a statue, which opens a secret door that leads to a literal dungeon. In that dungeon's basement, you find the piano roll that you need inside of an Iron Maiden that you open with a sword. That whole room is booby-trapped with gas. I don't know who fucking made this place, but I hope they're dead. But before we leave, we need to pay that nice man a visit. Remember, make sure you bring his medicine, because even though you leave your lighter with him, he gives you a lockpick. And not only that, some other cool stuff happens if you choose to save him. Plus, you're a good person, and you wouldn't let that nice man die. He let you out of prison. It's the least you can do. Once you do that, it's time to head back to the palace to use that piano roll. I remember what it was called!
Finally, Albert Wesker. A man who betrayed his comrades for personal gain. The best kind of gain. And not only that, died only to return to life greater than he was before.
At the time, I had no clue how important Albert Wesker was, because I had no introduction into the series aside from this. I'd seen bits and pieces of other games, but I had no idea that Wesker dies in the first game, so I didn't understand how significant him coming back was. And if I did, I wouldn't have asked questions, because T-Virus. After Claire gets the shit kicked out of her, you're free to go use the piano roll to unlock a slot machine to get a blue ant. which we're going to use to wrap this entire game up. I thought at the time. You return to the creepy dollhouse, enjoy the music once again, probably laugh your ass off at this gunfight, and then learn that there never was an Alexia after all. Alfred runs off and starts the self-destruct system, which, again, never realized this was a Resident Evil trope, because I'd never played any other one besides this game. But it doesn't matter, because it's time for Claire and Steve to get the fudge out of here. You get some more fantastic music as our duo make their way to the airport. But of course, things can't be that easy. Claire leaves to raise a bridge, while Steve remains behind to run checks on a cargo plane. Because apparently he knows how to drive big boy cargo planes. Once you do that, clear an elevator, a timer starts, and Alfred lets out Frankenstein to go hunt Claire down. But luckily, I had a grenade launcher. You get back to the plane, they escape, and the game is over.
Or is it?
Somehow, that no-finger-having monster climbs his way onto the plane and he's ready for round 2. But luckily, I had some special gas grenades and some explodey arrows. And a crate. Once the fight's over, Claire rejoins Steve and they joke about going to the Bahamas.
And then Alfred strikes again.
The plane gets taken over and autopiloted to Umbrella's Antarctic facility. A couple things happen. 1. Steve ascends to a whole new level of cringe. But he plays it off like a champ. Man, I know Steve's a dork with some boundary issues, but I hope Claire manages to give him a mercy date after this is all said and done. You know, when they both make it out of here. Alive and well. Both of them. I know. 2. Without realizing it, I was primed for what would become my favorite movie of all time. Now, I don't know if I'll ever talk about movies on this channel, but if I do, I'll probably talk about this one. It has several things in common with this point of the game. Cold, dogs, Antarctica. You guessed John Carpenter's The Thing before I said this. You're awesome. If you didn't, go watch it. Right now. Only if you like horror movies, because if you don't like horror movies, you're not gonna like it. 3. I fucking love this game. The plane crashes and then you get a blank screen with a message that says, save first half this game? After another brief, awkward moment where Steve gets a stiffy and isn't sure what to do with it, Claire leaves to go stumble around in the dark for a little bit. Some zombies ambush you, you find some really creepy notes to read. It's dark, it's cold as shit. But eventually, you find the generator and you turn it on. And then this happens. Okay, freedom is but a crane swing away. And then Steve gets distracted by Claire's dump truck and hits a gas pipe. But it's okay. You find a gas mask, you use a valve handle, you kill that stupid fucking asshole Alfred finally, and bada bing, bada boom, you're free to flood the entire facility and escape to freedom into the Arctic wasteland. I'm sure that's fine. We're way up here and he don't got no arms.
Let's go!
Come on, let's go! What, are you scared?
It's fine. God damn, this music is amazing. Fun fact, I didn't do this, but if you kill him with a sniper rifle, you get a cool cutscene. If you kill him with a knife, you get an extra cool cutscene. If you kill him with anything else, he just dies. And if you get poisoned during this fight, this also changes a minor thing with the game later on. Who gets poisoned? Claire helps Steve up, and finally these two can get on with their fucking lives. There she is. Beautiful. Evil in its most glorious form. Blonde, naked, and soothing her brother as he dies in her lap. It's time to play as Chris. Chris arrives on the island to some really badass music, but unfortunately he drops his bag, which I can only assume is filled with guns and things to make this game a lot easier. Immediately he meets our nice friend that we totally helped at the prison, Rodriguez. And then he immediately gets eaten by a gulpworm. The gulpworm. Now technically, if you fought this thing as Claire, you can make it go away and it makes this fight easier, but who the fuck does that? I kill that stupid thing, finally have a heart-to-heart with that nice man, and then I take my lighter back and get those machine guns that are hidden in that wall for some reason. That's unlocked with a lighter. Already, this part of the game is holding absolutely nothing back. A boss right at the beginning, zombies, a pissed off Wesker. How pissed off, you say? Pissed off enough to send out drones that hunt you down and summon hunters. That's how pissed.
Good man.
I just have to say real quick that even though I hadn't played any other Resident Evil games and I quickly discovered that that was a trope, this self-destruct system fucking sucks. All it did was knock out some fucking walls. Good job, guys. Now the government's totally gonna raid this place and find all kinds of fucking evidence. Chris's experience on this island is a mirror of Claire's. You return to a lot of the same places, but they've been altered by explosions. The main focus of Chris's game becomes getting to Antarctica to save his baby sister, because he has a little tussle with Wesker and he tells him that she's there with Alexia. With Alexia! I've got to hand it to this guy. I don't really want to try to butcher his name. Michael Philipwich? But he's Chris's voice actor in Code Veronica. And the reason I'm bringing him up for kudos is because the scene where Wesker has Chris up and goes, Alexia? And just fucking chucks Chris across the fucking room, and Chris hits this pipe and falls off. Michael sells the shit out of it. Like, it sounds like someone kicked him square in the fucking balls. Kudos. But when he does that, Chris fights his first and only Vanderplatz. But Chris don't have time for that. It's time to save Claire. Hunters? Fuck those hunters. Fuck them. Poison hunters? Yeah, there's poison hunters in this game. But fuck them too. Yes! Remember that little white thing that escaped with Claire's game? Well, it's all grown up now. And it's an electric water type Pokemon. And it's all that stands between you and that blue plate you need to get out of here and get to your baby sister. Kill it! Kill it, Dad! Nope! I ain't got time for that. Steal the plate, dissolve that bitch, and it's off to Antarctica. Once you're at the Antarctic base, you have an encounter with one of many Alexia's extremities. They're not a problem if you shoot them from a distance. Much like with Chris's run of Rockfort Island, everything's just a tad different because Steve hit a water pipe on his way out and everything's frozen and flooded. After a quick hop, skip, and a jump scare, you get the valve handle again. Playing this for the first time, I remembered that when I walked into this room, there was a door that you couldn't reach as Claire, because there was a gap in the walkway. But right away, you notice all the ice. Because Steve froze it. I guess we can get to that door now. you remember from the Spyro episode, I don't like spiders. There's a reason I didn't talk about them when I talked about Claire in the Antarctic part. Because I don't like them. I don't like spiders. But once I found the courage to cross that ice, I was greeted with a hunter drone. No, seriously, how the fuck did Wesker get here first? Did he fucking fly? I mean, I know he came in like a submarine, but there's no fucking way the submarine goes faster than a jet. Or do they? Anyway, you do some stuff, you fight a poison hunter, kill some zombies in a freezer hallway, then you turn the power back on. Kind of a weird way, but it'll make sense later because there's a puzzle. At the time of me first playing this, I entered the next area and was like, okay, why the fuck is there a mansion here? Without realizing it was modeled after the main hall of the first game. Same thing goes with that tiger statue all the way at the end of that corridor. My mind wasn't blown, but Chris's probably was. You remove an eye, get an adapter for the end of your valve handle, drain some water, get a jump scare, get a crane key.
Godspeed, Tim.
You get a crane key. You get confronted by Alexia as you use said crane key. And then you fight that giant spider. Now, you don't actually have to fight this spider. You can actually run around, grab the earring, and then just leave. And then just avoid the spider every time you go into that room. But she had to die. She had to. And once I got that earring from old Nos himself and realized that he was Alexander Ashford, Alexia and Alfred's father, I began to piece together that all of them probably have a piece of jewelry like this. It might have been mentioned in a file. I don't know. I can't read. After a brisk jog around a giant fucking anthill, my suspicion is confirmed when I find the room where Alexia awoke from her frozen sleep. Inside the frozen chamber, you find Alfred, who just plops out. And you see his ring. Now I knew Alexia had one of these pieces of jewelry. And how the fuck am I supposed to get it? After wandering around for a bit, hopefully you go behind the staircase, because that's how you progress this story. You see Claire, strung up in a weird cocoon of boogers. You cut her down with your knife, you console your sister, and then you completely forget that she got poisoned by Nosferatu because you're a terrible player. Once you cure Claire of her very specific poison, and you properly reunite these two, Alexia shows up. And then Claire realizes that there is, in fact, an Alexia. And then...
No!
Seriously. When I first heard that, the bottom kind of dropped out of my stomach. But... it's fine! I'm sure everything will be fine.
Claire! Can't breathe! Claire! Help me! Claire!
No, wait!
Okay. The first time I played this part, it made me very, very sad. Hell, when Claire cried, I almost cried too. Bitch. You're ruining the moment, V.
Hurry up! The next part's epic!
Steve nearly kills Claire in his rage. But he's able to regain control of himself at the last moment, and he pays for it with his life. He confesses his love for the girl that he literally just met, and then he dies. And honestly, I don't think Claire cried because she had the same feelings for him. I think she cried for the same reason that I almost cried. Steve is too adorable to die. He's too innocent. It's fine. We'll make it out of here. Everything will be fine. And then all of a sudden, that was ripped away from him. And it just, I know it's cringy and silly, but damn it made me feel something. Up until this point in my gaming experience, nothing like this had happened. So it hit me pretty hard.
Snap back to reality. Oop, there goes gravity. These two should have babies.
Alexia and Wesker show up and have a sick-ass fight. After Alexia sets herself ablaze and confirms my suspicion, Wesker says this.
Chris, since you're one of my best men, I'll let you handle this.
And it was at this moment that I began to understand. These two used to work together, and then Wesker did a bad guy thing.
You bet your ass he did. And Alexia infected herself with her own virus and then froze herself for 20 or 30 years, I can't remember. So that her and her virus would bond and become one. Brilliant!
For real though, I really enjoyed both these characters, and that fucking music. But she dies in like 3 shots. And then Chris picks up the choker and leaves. But that can't be. This area is made to resemble that creepy suspended doll mansion. Kind of. And this next part is tricky dicky. Right away you notice the 2 gems inside the tiger head look a bit odd. And it clicked as soon as I saw the 2 ants on the music box were missing their keisters. But then I was like, if I take one out, it turns, leaving me unable to get the other one. What if I turned off the power? Suddenly, that random old-fashioned door made a whole hell of a lot of sense. So, I cut the power, got those antacids, ant asses, and finished getting the pieces of that dragonfly. After a genuinely sad moment of hearing Claire sobbing over Steve's demise through a locked door, she manages to pull it together long enough to slide you a book containing a key card. And then this music starts. And you know it's time. You use the dragonfly to open up this final door and activate the self-destruct system, but only after you enter a password. And if you don't know what that password is, shame on you. Once the self-destruct system is activated, all the doors are unlocked, and Claire meets you at the top of the anthill.
Can't get rid of my girl that easily.
Alexia returns, but you can shoot her with literally anything once.
Isn't pregnancy a beautiful thing, Tim?
Pro tip, save all of your exploding arrows for this fight. It makes it way easier. God, she's an angel. God damn, this music's just... fuck! Chris overcharges his plasma cannon and does not roll a 1. If you get that joke, I'm glad to have you with me. And Alexia gets dead for real this time.
No! My sweet baby girl.
Wesker kidnaps Claire and sends Chris into a death sprint down a zombie-filled hallway. Wesker tosses Claire casually back to Chris and taunts her with the notion that Steve may return one day, like he once did. Claire heads back to the plane while Chris and Wesker slug it out. I don't like Chris's chances in this. But Chris reminds us all that he is indeed the main character, or at least one of the main characters. Chris wins, Wesker escapes after an evil laugh, and the 2 siblings head back to civilization for some well-deserved R&R. He may return, as I did, to see your sister again. This not only sold me on the fact that I might get to see my 2 ducklings together again, but also firmly planted the hook in my cheek for the rest of the franchise. What the fuck happened between Chris and Wesker? How did Claire become such a badass? Who the fuck is Leon? What the fuck is stars? All I knew is that I had to play more. I needed more. I needed more. Spyro introduced me to what video game music and video game soundtracks could be, and Code Veronica hammered it home. Warcraft 3 captured my full attention and made me want to experience that same game on a yearly basis. Code Veronica took that a step further by adding slightly different ways to play each time and a variety of ways to get to the same end goal. So there was a purpose to replaying the game multiple times. And each time I got a little less scared and a little more used to the tank controls, which would prepare me for all the games that I missed out on. While I played Code Veronica on the PlayStation 2, Resident Evils 1 through 3 weren't that easy to find at the time, unless you had a GameCube. Code Veronica led me to buying my first Nintendo console, the GameCube. I bought it for the sole purpose of playing the remade Resident Evil and 2 and 3, which I could find much easier at the time than I could the PlayStation versions. Yes, I did find my way to a bunch of other gems on that console, but that wouldn't have happened without Code Veronica. In conclusion, this game will forever be burned into my memory as the final step on this trifecta game journey. Not the final step as in no more video games past this point. Everything else bad. No, final step as in video games will forever be a part of my life. And I now know that. For sure. No matter how old I get, how upset I am, what kind of mood I'm in, it doesn't matter. I can always play a video game.